Good morning, students. Welcome to history class of standard 9. Here we are discussing regarding the Russian Revolution. And in Russian revolutions, during the discussions we have discussed many things. We have already discussed about the social, economic, political condition of Russia. We have also discussed about the industrial development in the Russia that took place generally after 1890 onward. And we have also discussed about the development of socialist society in the Russia. It means we have discussed about the precondition in Russia which were set for the revolution. Only it required a magistrates. Before 1917, these situations were happening. Today, we will discuss about the 1905 revolution, which is one of the base for the 1917 revolution that took place and uprooted the Tsar or Tsardom from the Russia. That is 1905. Revolution of 1905. Before I do start the further discussion, I would like to tell you, before 1532 C, before it, in Europe, most countries in the Europe, we can say almost all the countries in the Europe, they were using the Julian calendar. Julian calendar, it was prepared by Julius Caesar. You might have been remembering the name of Julius Caesar. It was the Julian calendar. But after 1582, the Gregorian calendar are in used. England used this Gregorian calendar in 1582 and Russia adopted it in 1918. It means in Russia till the 1970 they were using the Julian calendar. Only one difference is that the Julian calendar is 13 days back of the Gregorian calendar. These 13 days would be till 2099. The Julian calendar will be 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar, and for 2100 it would be 14 days, and for another 100 years it will remain as the 14 days. But in this century it is 13 days. When we will talking about the revolutions, then we have to find out the date, then we have to add the 13 in the Julian calendar, then we can get the today's current calendars. This is a basic idea that I would like to give it to you. Now we should like to go to the revolution of 1905. Before I do start, we have already discussed few things that it is necessary to discuss over here. The things are, from the 1861 Emancipation Act. Alexander II. It was introduced by Alexander II. Why it is important? It is important because this law had freed the serf. Serf means we can say the agricultural bonded labor in the feudal system of the Russia. Agricultural bonded labor in the feudal system of Russia. Serfs were the bonded agricultural labor whose conditions were very miserable in Russia. In 1861 Emancipation Act, it freed almost 23 million serfs from the serfdom. They were released from the atrocities that they were facing it, and it was believed by the Alexander they are providing the labor for the industrial growth. Because these laborers are now free, they are not bound to work in the field of their landlords. So 23 million serfs were freed. What happened to the future of these freed labor? When they were freed, they were being provided the land, and these land were provided, taken from the big landlords, and government has given or paid for it. These serfs had to pay out these rent to the government. First things, that the land that they got it for the survivors, they were given to them by the government by paying the amount to the big landlords, and the serf had to redeem their loan by giving back the money to the government. Means the rulers. Government means I am talking about the ruler, the judge. Whatever land that were provided to them, it was very small in size, so that the serf were not able to fulfill their basic needs, and whatever they were producing it was taken by the ruler in the form of tax, or in other words we can say they have to sold all the produce that they were producing in order to sell out their settle their loan and settle their taxes. So these laborers were wandering for the work till industrial revolution or industrialization of Russia had not taken place as fast as we see after 1890. So these were the labor force which were not very happy with the king's or the king's policies. So they could easily be diverted or brainwashed to be as a weapon in the hand of the revolutionary or the liberals to revolt against the rulers. Now we will talk about another aspect, that is the labor force. After 1819, the industrial growth in Russia took place at the very rapid rate. If we compare with the today's economic growth, we have not reached to that level. It was around 8.5%. Industrial growth reached to 8.5%. We have not reached so till the industrial growth. In the industrial society, we have already discussed about the plight that the industrial workers were suffering. They were living in the cluster area, even though they were the law made by the Jar to protect the labor. But we have already seen that it was being violated many times. Workers had to work for 10 to 12 hours. The average they have giving that they have to work for 11 hours a day. साढ़े 11 घंटे उनको काम करना पड़ता था. In the small unit, it was working hour going to 15 hours. Long working hour, but they were being paid less for it. That we have discussed, they were not being paid to more, they are being paid less for it. And they also did not have the basic facilities. In the cold, when the temperature in the Moscow and St. Petersburg reaches the -30, -20, workers had to come down from the 4th floor in the severe cold when everything is the frozen and go into the street for the purpose of urination. See the conditions, what the conditions the peoples were living. So they were against the Tsarist rule, they were not satisfied with the Tsarist rule. So they demanded were the working hour, reduction in the working hour, and it should be reduced to 8 hours per day instead of 11.5 hours in the general units. In some units it was going up to the 15 hours. They were demanded that should be reduced to 8 hours per day. First demand, they were demanding it. Second, they wanted increase in their wages. They wanted their wages should be increased, and they wanted also that improvement in working conditions. Why this demand they are making? Why their plights were theirs? Their plight were not only up to this one, that they had to work for long hours and being paid less. There were some other conditions. In 1903 to 1904, in 1903 to 4, there were industrial depression that took place in Russia, and due to industrial depressions, many firms become bankrupt. So unemployment become common, and the wages came down. At the same time, the prices of essential commodity increased. When the prices increased, the real wages of the workers decreased. Not workers, the real wages actually decreased. The real wages means the goods and services which we can purchase by using the currency. How much goods and services we can purchase by using the goods and services. For example, if I give you examples, earlier we were able to purchase 5 kg of rice in ₹100. Now you are able to purchase only 4 kg of rice in ₹100. It means the 100 rupees currency are able to purchase the less commodity It means the real value of currency has came down, it has decreased. In Russia also the real value decreased in 1904. In 1904, real wages came down by 20%. See the conditions. Now they are able to purchase the less goods and services with the amount they were being given because the prices increased. Unemployment was common and they were getting the reduced wages. It happening the conditions. So they were in such a way that they demanding all these things. They wanted their wages should be increased, working hours should be reduced, and better environment or better conditions should be given. This situation shows that industrial workers were not very happy with the Tsarist government, and if their mind was, they would be ready to revolt against the Tsarist rule. Industries and workers' quarter at the right bank of river Neva. And who were saying the liberals and the revolutionaries were finding it as the opportunity to use it. After the workers, industrial workers, after the peasants, one more thing that we have to keep in mind. Russia is a country of multicultural society. Multicultural or multi-ethnic society, because people belonging to different religions are living. They have been divided now. After the disintegration of Russia in 1991, 15 countries were made and they now have got the separated. We are talking not of 1991, we are talking about the 1905, almost 89 years back, 90 years back. बहुत पहले की बात कर रहे हैं, 85 से 90 साल पहले की बात कर रहे हैं. In Russia, the groups, the different non-Russian who were believing the other religious ideologies, they were not being given or paid the respect. Most sufferer were the Russian Jews. Russian Jews, who accounting the 4% of the Russian population are living in the western part of Russia. What was happening? These peoples were confined to their areas only. They cannot go and settle in the area outside their cities. They were also not given the voting right in the municipal election, and they were also forbidden from the armed force jobs. It means they were deprived of the education, they were deprived of the voting right, they were deprived of the armed forces. It means they were simply thrown aside. We can say that it was one type of discrimination that was being taken place in the Russian Tsarist government. It was not only with the Jews also, it was also happening with the Jihadists. Jihadists were the Muslims who were residing in the Russia. The same conditions were happening with them. We have got about the peasants, we have got about the industrial workers, we have got about the ethnic groups that living in the Russia who were sufferer, means the non-Russian were the most sufferer in that case. This was not the last. Education groups. Students also participated in this movement. They also took part in this movement because they wanted that their civil rights should be provided, that was not given to them. These three conditions that we have seen. One, the peasants basically the serf who had got the freedom, serf who later joined the industrial worker as the industrial worker also, who had the relation with the village. Peasants were not happy. Many, the big farmers also were in the debt, so they were also not happy. Industrial workers were not happy. And these the students, lawyers, doctors, engineers, they started forming the union of unions. These were not valid, it was not legal, but they had started forming. It means something, the raw materials were getting assembled over here. And the most important among these was the War of 1945. In 1904 to 5, there was Russian-Japanese war. This Russian-Japanese war was initially supported by the Russian peoples because Japan had declared the war without giving the prior warning, information, notice, what we can say it, and they had attacked the Port Arthur. So enthusiastically the Russians were supporting the Tsars to go for the war against the Japan. But this was could not last long because Russia was receiving multiple defeats in the hands of the Japan. So people become against in Russian-Japanese war. It means it also put a fire or fuel in the Russian Revolution that took place in 1905. River view of Winter Palace in Russia. Another side view of Winter Palace. All conditions were set to start a revolution. Means all the conditions were assembled or heaped in the form of fuel. They required a fire. They required a matchstick to start to burn the revolution. To burn the revolution, something should happen. Then it happened also. In the December 1904, Petlov Iron Work. In St. Petersburg, it was a company which was supplying the railway and artillery equipment for railway and artillery. Railway and artillery is used in the military weapons, so they were supplying the things for the Indian railway and the artillery. And the conditions happened in December 1904 when the 4 members of the Russian associations were removed. Because why they were removed? It is clear that the associations forming the association or the trade unions or the worker unions were not permitted, it was the illegals, so they were dismissed. And when these 4 peoples were dismissed, So all workers of the Pitlow Iron Works went on a strike. And in their support, 1,10,000 people from 382 factories went on strike. इतना लंबा strikes. Industrial workers had strikes. First, it was started from the Pitlow Iron Work. I have discussing that they require a matchstick. And what was the burning matchstick? It was the removal of the 4 members of the Russian associations which were recently formed. And accordingly, it was not legal, it was illegal, because trade unions and workers' unions, associations, political parties were all completely illegal. So they went on strike. Now we will discuss what happened when they went on a strike. He is the Father Gapin who led the workers to the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. In the St. Petersburg city, now its name is known as the Leningrad. In 1914, it came to be known as the Petrograd, because the St. Petersburg's name was resembling the German words. That's why it was changed, because they were fighting the First World War against the Germany. In the Neva, St. Petersburg's Neva River flow. I have given you direction. It means it was flowing from the east to west direction. It is not the very long rivers from the lake Ladoga to the Neva Bay. It was emerging from the lake Ladoga to the Neva Bay. It was around almost 74 kilometers long. Not very wide also, but it is the navigable river. Still it is a navigable river, and it adds the beauty to the city. Right now also the Leningrad city gets the beauty from these rivers. If we move, where should be the mouth? The mouth of the river is set where the river meets the water, big water bodies, the ocean, sea or the bay. Since it is moving from east to west, it means it would be the right side, it would be the left side. The left direction and the right direction has been given. On the left part, it was the fashionable city. Also the winter place, palace. Winter palace means official residence, residence of the Tsar. But on the right bank, it was the industries and workers quarter. One side and another side, it creates a big difference. What was the difference? One side, fashionable, very beautiful city. Another side, the clustered area, township of industrial workers, where they are living in the very clustered form, not beauty, not space, no food, no any other facilities. These workers means industrial workers were being manipulated by Father Gapin. These industrial workers were manipulated by the Father Gapin, and you may ask, who was the Father Gapin? He was the priest in the Orthodox Church. Purani Parampara, church has been divided into two parts, Orthodox, Protestant, that is called Catholic. When Gapans were moving and going to all the industries and managing the workers, so they have a big grip on the workers. So this revolution, we can say that it was actually it was led, because organizations had already been taken place, all the fuel we are assembling, the fire has been taken part, and this fire was being given the air or oxygen by the Father Gapan. Later on we will say you that Father Gapan was assassinated by the revolutionary. And why he was assassinated? Because he found that he was the spy of the Russian troops. So the revolutionary had assassinated him. It is a scene of demonstration before Bloody Sunday. Father Gapan led the industrial workers to the Winter Palace, the official residence of the Russian Tsar. This event took place on 21st January 1905. This date is according to the Gregorian calendars, but according to Julian calendar, which was prevailing at that time in the Russia, it was the 9/1/1905. It means it was according to Julian and according to Gregorian calendars. In this event, what happened? The soldiers' army and Cossacks were famous for their army skills and the horsemanship. Cossacks were famous for horsemanship and military skill. They started the firing, and in this firing, hundreds were killed. 100 workers killed and 300 were wounded. This date, it was happening on Sunday. That's why this event is known as the Bloody Sunday in the history of Russia. What happened afterwards? After this act or movement, they were being supported by all the groups that we are discussing, students, doctors, lawyers, professionals. They were all supporting. They were demanding a constitutions. When they were rebel, what were the demand? They were demanding a constitution. Demand were there, a constitution. Then freedom of press and the basic liberties, freedom of political associations also. Under the pressures, because they were in demand of the political freedoms, so the Tsar, the Nicholas II, agreed on the formation of the Duma, establishment of the Duma. This is the scene of Duma, which was established by Tsar in 1905. Duma, we can say it was the organization of representative body. Organization of representative body. The first Duma that was appointed, it just came into it in the 73 days. It lasts only 73 days. It is given, it was dissolved within the 75 days. Actually it lasted 73 days. Then within the 3 months the second Duma was re-elected, reappointed, and this second Duma, it was lasted for 103 days. Why the Tsar Nicholas were frequently simply banning and disobeying and this Duma? Because they wanted themselves the less responsible. That's why they were dissolving this Duma frequently. The first Duma, in which the liberals and the revolutionary were more in numbers, so their power would have been seized less, so it was dissolved within the 73 days. Second Duma was appointed within the 3 months after the dissolving of the first Duma, and the second Duma also lasted only for 103 days. The main aim of the Tsar Nicholas was to expel the liberals and the revolutionary from the Duma and should be filled up by the conservatives. And we have very early we have discussed that the conservatives were the people who wanted a little or no change, so they wanted to fill it. Third Duma were appointed. It lasted for 5 years, मतलब 1907 to 1912, and the fourth Duma from 1912 to 1970. These two Duma, the third Duma and the fourth Duma, lasted because they were more conservatives. But this first and second Duma were frequently dissolved because they were the number of conservatives were less and the liberals and radicals were more. In this video we have got the first Russian Revolution, that was 1905, and what were the causes and what was the effect, and it paved the way for the 1917 revolution. Now go through this video carefully and your book carefully. It will enhance your information. Thank you.